Welcome to the Cryptids / Weird Creatures Iceberg. Covering this iceberg with me today is Gravity PSI, who you probably know from his creepypasta about the Heaven Stairway incident, which blew up a little while ago. Today we're joining forces in covering this fascinating iceberg, and if you don't know what a cryptid is, let me just tell you real quick. Cryptids are creatures that have been claimed to exist but have never been proven to exist. Some good examples are Sasquatch and the Loch Ness Monster. Cryptids don't need to be mythical or paranormal in nature. It's a really cool topic, and I'm excited to talk about them. Alright, Gravity, take it away.
Level 1. The Flatwoods Monster. The Flatwoods Monster is a creature that was originally spotted in Braxton County, West Virginia in 1952. The creature was seen after a blue light streaked across the sky, landing in a farm, causing several of the townsfolk to go investigate. A man named Eugene Lemon said that when the crowd arrived, they saw a large humanoid figure step out of the rubble with a red, pulsating light and a large, pointed hood. Later on, investigators claimed that the light was actually a meteor and the creature was just a barn owl. How this creature can be confused for a barn owl is beyond me. Loch Ness / Lake Champlain Monster. The Loch Ness Monster is a supposed creature that lurks in the murky depths of the Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. Its origins date back to 565, where an Irish monk named Saint Columba talked to some people who claimed that a man who was swimming in the loch was attacked by a water beast and mauled to death. Columba had a man swim out to the loch to see if there really was a beast. As the man was swimming, the beast began to swim towards him until Saint Columba made the sign of a cross and said, "Go no further. Do not touch the man. Go back at once." The beast then disappeared. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, has been described as looking like an Elasmosaurus or a Plesiosaurus. In 1934, Robert Kenneth Wilson took this famous photograph of the creature, but modern scholars consider this photograph a fake. Despite modern technology and sonar technology, no legitimate evidence of Nessie's existence has come up. The Lake Champlain Monster is basically the exact same creature, the only difference being is that it is located in Lake Champlain, Vermont. Mothman. The Mothman is a legendary creature that was first spotted in the Point Pleasant area of West Virginia in 1966. Mothman has been described as being a large, black-winged creature with glowing red eyes. Local residents would see him fly towards their cars and try to attack other people. Many have tried to explain what the Mothman is. Some claim it's an alien, others a fallen angel, and perhaps it's just a giant mutated moth. Some people have even claimed that there are paranormal connections to the Mothman. An example would be people claiming the Mothman to be an omen. Residents in the Point Pleasant area had claimed to have seen Mothman sitting on top of the Silver Bridge. When Mothman disappeared in 1967, the Silver Bridge would collapse, killing 46 people. Living Tasmanian thylacine. The Tasmanian thylacine, or simply the Tasmanian Tiger, is a now extinct animal that was located on the Australian mainland as well as the Tasmanian Islands. Excessive hunting and destruction of their habitat caused them to go extinct in 1936. However, from 1938 until 1998, many reports of the Tasmanian tigers would come from the southern Victoria area. Many have moved on and accepted their extinction, but cryptozoologists to this day still claim that there are a few alive. If a bird can unextinct itself, then perhaps this specimen can. Cryptid apes. This entry basically talks about the many apes throughout cryptozoology. The apes include Bigfoot, Yeti, skunk ape, Almas, Honey Island swamp monster, and Deloy's ape. Ningen. The ningen is a supposed 20 to 30 meter creature that dwells in the icy depths of the Antarctic Sea. Although its first sightings were recorded during ancient Japan, it apparently still lives on in modern times. It became well known to the public when a forum on the site known as 2chan claimed that government-operating whaling ships spotted this humanoid creature swimming around in the area. 2004 ivory-billed woodpecker sighting. The ivory-billed woodpecker is a now extinct species of woodpecker, but was apparently spotted in 2004. That's right. This cryptid is actually critically endangered, but not extinct. But there are also many articles that claim that it is indeed extinct. So This entry here is quite conflicting. Either it's extinct or it's not. It depends on who you ask and who you believe. The Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is a creature that lives in the Pine Barrens in southern Jersey. It has been described as having a horse's head, horns, wings, goat legs, and a forked tail. According to its origin, the Jersey Devil is the 13th child of Mother Leeds. Mother Leeds claimed that if she were to give birth to a 13th child, then that child would be the devil himself. On a stormy night, the child would be born human, but would rapidly change into a horrid creature. It lashed out at the residents in the Leeds house before flying through the fireplace and out the chimney. Since then, there have been hundreds of sightings of the devil out in the woods, and even a movie about a group of reporters going missing hunting down the beast. The bloop. The bloop is an ultra-low frequency detected by the NOAA in 1997 in the Pacific Ocean. Scientifically, it has been speculated as being either icebergs crashing into each other and breaking apart, or ice quakes. But many people claim that the sound was created by an animal, meaning that whatever made this sound would have to be the largest animal ever recorded living in the deepest part of the ocean. 52 Hertz whale. The 52 Hertz whale is an unknown species of whale that continuously calls out to other whales at an unusually high frequency of 52 Hertz. Blue whales, the largest whales on Earth, use calls that go from 10 to 32 Hertz. It was first discovered in 1989 and heard again in 1990 and 1991. Since 2014, the whale has been detected every year, and it is assumed that it is the only whale out in the ocean that uses 52 Hertz calls and has been dubbed the world's loneliest whale. Living megalodon. The megalodon was a giant shark that existed 200 million years ago, but went extinct 2.6 million years ago, when the planet began to go into the Ice Age. Despite this, many people believe that the megalodon still exists, and avoided extinction by living near thermal vents deep in the ocean. According to some, megalodons have even been spotted swimming far out to the middle of the ocean, and some have been photographed. An article about how a supposed megalodon was approaching a boat off the coast of New England. Chupacabra. The Chupacabra is a Hispanic cryptid that is described as either being a hairless dog with a row of spikes on its back, red eyes and fangs, or a lizard-looking creature. Its name literally means goat sucker, as it has been seen sucking the blood from the necks of goats. The first well-known sighting was in 1995 in Puerto Rico, when 8 sheep were found dead, all having 2 puncture wounds on the side of their necks. Sightings of the Chupacabra have come from Hispanic territories, but have been found as far south as Chile and as far north as Maine. Phantom British big cats. These creatures are described as being panthers, leopards, and other big cats that are found way outside of their natural habitat. This entry can be explained as people bringing these big cats back to their home after visiting their natural habitats. Living non-avian dinosaurs. This entry refers to the belief that non-flying dinosaurs are still alive and manage to avoid death by living closer to the core of the Earth. Mongolian deathworm. The Mongolian deathworm is a creature that lives beneath the sands of the Gobi Desert. The worm, as described in Roy Chapman Andrews' book, On the Trail of Ancient Man, states that it has no head, is 2 feet long, and is so poisonous that touching it means instant death. Some scholars have said that there is no worm, since it's too hot in the Gobi Desert for a worm to live, but rather a Tartar sand boa, which does live there. The Mongolian deathworm has also been stated to be the main inspiration for the famous movie monster, the Graboids, from the Tremors movie series.
Zayumaru, Carcass, and other Globsters. In the year 1977, off the coast of New Zealand, a Japanese fishing boat by the name of Zayumaru brought this mysterious carcass onto one of its nets. Weighing over 4,000 pounds and spanning over 32 feet, the creature was in terrible shape. Its internal organs were gone and the majority of the flesh was just rotting and melting away. Obviously, the crew were shocked by this creature since it highly resembles a prehistoric dinosaur known as a plesiosaur. The captain told the crew to throw the creature back into the sea and just abandon it. The reason for this is unknown. The crew was able to get some samples of its tissue and got them sent back into testing. Turns out the DNA matched up with that of a giant basking shark. Some people think that these DNA results were faked as a cover-up because, I mean, look at this thing. It doesn't look like much of a shark to me. Globsters are also pretty interesting. They're pretty much unidentified organic masses that wash up on shore and utterly confuse everyone who comes across them, since they rarely resemble any animals that we know to exist. These rotting, hairy blobs will just wash up in the ocean shore and just disgust everyone around them. They're kind of creepy in a way, so much to the point where there's actually an enemy in Resident Evil named after them. But you might be wondering, what are they? Well, as far as we know, they're the rotting remains of giant squids, whales, and sharks. That's it. The carcasses just travel through the ocean, which is what gives them this hairy-looking, glob-like exterior. Hopkinsville Goblins, otherwise known as the Hopkinsville Goblins case, was an alleged encounter with actual aliens. In fact, it's actually one of the most well-documented cases in alien encounter history. On August 21st, 1955, a family frantically arrived at the Hopkinsville police station claiming that they had been attacked by aliens and were holding them off with gunfire for hours. The adults claimed that they had been shooting at 12 to 15 little dark characters who repeatedly popped up at the doorway or peered through windows. The police thought this was actually just a gunfight between civilians, so they went to go check it out and found nothing that would suggest that. Only evidence of gunfire and bullet holes through the windows and walls, but no bodies or anything like that. The claims of the family received widespread recognition in local alongside national news. Through all this, like a game of telephone, details of the creatures were added, such as large pointed ears, claw-like hands, and eyes that glowed, and spindly little legs. These sort of traits later appeared in various media to represent aliens. But what actually happened here? Well, we don't really know. The family actually moved out of the house after claiming that the aliens had returned, and they never admitted to it being a fraud or anything along those lines, so people thought that they could have been intoxicated or were just seeing owls that were landing around them, but there weren't any owl carcasses mentioned by the police. The amount of effort and property damage it would take to just fire hundreds of bullets into nothing makes no sense to me. There were witnesses to this as well, which just further adds to it. Honestly, I would love to believe that, yeah, aliens attacked this little southern family and just flew away afterwards, because if you couldn't tell, I like aliens, but honestly, I don't have a great way of fully explaining this, interestingly enough. Nandi Bear, otherwise known as Chemocid, is a creature from East African folklore. These creatures are often described as shaggy, sloped-back predators that somewhat resemble a hyena. Witnesses vary since it's sort of a tribe-to-tribe thing, so some tribes claim that it looks like a monkey, but most agree with the hyena description. The earliest known sighting of the Nandi Bear was in 1905. Sightings continued into the 20th century, and in around 1914, one was reported to have been killed near Kapsawar, after killing several villagers. Another example of a man-eating Nandi Bear struck in the same year, in an unnamed Kenyan village, where allegedly killed a 6-year-old girl. Here's the thing. The Nandi Bear is likely just a mix of a bunch of different animals being reported by different explorers and native tribes, so for most of them, they probably just saw large hyenas with overgrown hair or something along those lines. Still a pretty fascinating case. Cadborosaurus, otherwise known as Caddy, is an alleged sea serpent found near Cadboro Bay. The Caddy is known widely for a picture showing the remains of the creature. This image alone is pretty unsettling and is definitely very fascinating, but is it true or just a fake? There have allegedly been sightings dating back to centuries, so there's a lot of people who claim to have seen this creature, even into very modern times, but it's basically only first-hand accounts. But here's the thing, there have been sightings of the Caddy who have been identified. In 1943, a sighting was identified as a sea lion. Later, another was identified as a massive oarfish. Another was identified as a basking shark, which actually ties into the first entry I covered. Something that the Zayumaru carcass was actually a Cadborosaurus, but of course, it was just a basking shark. But here's the thing, to me it's not too unrealistic to think that a sea serpent would exist in the modern day. It's just hard to identify on account of the fact that it might just hide in places where we don't know where to find. Trunko. Trunko was one of many globsters that were mentioned earlier. Trunko has been described as a fish like a polar bear. The cryptid was repeatedly seen off the coast battling 2 killer whales, which fought the unusual creature for 3 hours. It used its tail to attack the whales and reportedly lifted itself out of the water by 20 feet. Trunko allegedly washed up on Margate Beach, but was never investigated by scientists for whatever reason. So yeah, is Trunko an actual creature? Well, I personally don't know. The carcass that washed up could just be covered in some sort of rot and seaweed or something like that, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. In fact, I would love to hear all of your opinions down below since this is such an interesting topic, and I'm talking about all of these cryptids. Cape York thylacines. This entry is referring to some sightings of Tasmanian tigers who have been thought to be dead for the past 80 years. People have been claiming to see these creatures again in Cape York, which is why it's here. Beeb's Abyssal Fishes. The word fishes indicates a different species in biology, different from just the plural of fish. It's a different type of species. In 1932, a Bermuda-based zoologist, Dr. William Beebe, was on a deep-sea expedition when 2,100 feet beneath the surface, two very unusual fishes became illuminated in the craft's electric beam of light as they swam past it. These creatures were reminiscent of barracudas, but were different. I feel like this one doesn't need too much of an explanation. The amount of life that's just undiscovered in the ocean is insane, so it's very likely that Beebe just found some undiscovered creatures, and, well, that's all. Minha Cow. This entry is referring to a massive creature that reportedly resembles a giant worm with scaly black skin and a readily visible mouth with a pair of tentacle-like structures protruding from its head. Allegedly, this worm burrows into the ground and leaves massive sinkholes wherever it burrows. There have been cases of houses and other man-made structures collapsing and rivers having their courses altered, allegedly due to the Minha Cow's burrowing activity. Cryptozoologist Carl Schuker has suggested that this animal may be an example of a giant caecilian, which are real creatures. They just aren't giant. Honestly, for whatever reason, I think that the concept of a giant worm is kinda cool and just reminds me of that SpongeBob episode. But I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Schomburgs Deer. So the Schomburgs Deer is an extinct breed of deer that has thought to have been extinct by 1938. However, in February of 1991, a pair of this animal's antlers were found in a Laotian medicine shop. The owner claimed that the antlers belonged to one of these deer that was killed only a year prior in a nearby district. Orang Pendek. In Indonesian folklore, the Orang Pendek is the most common name given to a creature said to inhabit remote mountainous forests on the island of Sumatra. The animal has allegedly been seen and documented for the last 100 years by forest tribes, local villagers, and explorers. The animal is one that looks like a primate, but in a way that looks weirdly human in ways that other monkeys don't. Local Indonesians claim that the Orang Pendek is an herbivore for the most part, and specifically enjoys the durian fruit. Some people think that this creature is the missing link between humans and monkeys. Honestly, this creature is pretty fascinating, and to me, it's totally possible that it's real. The Kating Vor. The Kating Vor, or snake-eating cow, is a cow-like creature that allegedly exists in Cambodia and Vietnam. There's a set of horns that allegedly belong to this creature, but not much else is known about them. Alright everyone, that wraps it up for part 1 of the Cryptids/Weird Creatures Iceberg. Now this is only part 1 of 2, so if you would like to see part 2, I'd highly suggest that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next part comes out. There we go, I'm back officially, I'm making videos again. I apologize for the hiatus. I made a community post kind of just explaining that. But yeah, I'm back, so part 2 will be out soon. Big thanks to Gravity PSI for coming on the show today. He did great, clearly, you heard, his narration's awesome. And yeah, it's good. If you made it all the way to here, thank you very much, and I'm glad that you seemingly enjoyed the video. If you want, you can always join my Discord server, or follow me on Instagram, or of course, just subscribe to the channel, but of course, it's up to you. Alright, I think that's about it. I will see you all in the next one. Also, a little video coming out in the future, the social media iceberg. That's gonna be a good one. I'll see you guys there.